Welcome back to another episode of Sports Dan Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Hooker, and who I'm here with.
You're here with Kevin Mobley, baby.
What's up? What's up, Coach Kev? How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. So talk to me. So now you're on the Sports Dan Podcast. What podcast do you listen to for yourself?
Man, I was just talking with somebody the other day. I'm not a big podcast person. I would say I get a lot of my podcast type content from sports talk radio. So I listen to a lot of 92.9 The Game here in Atlanta, Dukes and Bell,
Oh
that type
yeah.
of deal. So I love the local Atlanta radio, but I'm not too big into podcasts. I've got a couple of people hitting me that's what I need to start doing. So
I think you do pretty well because you have a lot of knowledge about basketball, and your dad worked at UGA, so you probably have a couple of great hosts coming in.
That's right. Absolutely.
So now talk to me about who is Coach Kevin.
That's funny. I am Kevin Mobley. I'm currently serve as the director of basketball operations and assistant coach at a place called the Skill Factory here in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a high school prep program that we started last year. So I joined the TSF staff. I was an intern with the pre-draft training program back last summer. Got the opportunity to work with our guy Bones Highland, who has made it big in the NBA in year one, a couple other pro guys. So started with that, did that as an internship, really enjoyed it. Was offered a position where I would work with TSF with our prep program, our year-round basketball program, as well as work on my master's degree here at Georgia State University, sport administration. So go Panthers. But yeah, so I am a product of Clark County, Georgia, the 706, proud Clark Central High School alum, School of Champions. And I attended the University of Georgia right down the road. So I got that Baxter Street education, as we like to call it, from Dr. Hooker. Now I was not. I will claim fully for the audience. I was not born at St. Mary's Hospital, and I did not attend Alps Road. I went to Barrow Elementary, so I'm not a full claim to the Baxter Street education, but I've got my hand in it a little bit. So attended the University of Georgia for 4 years, studied public relations with a minor in history, certificate in sports media. And after that, while I was doing that, I was also an assistant basketball coach for 4 years at Winterberry High School, just down the road. So I love my Double G Bulldogs as well. And so that's where I got my start, had the opportunity to work with a couple great players and a great program, and finished out there last year, and have been entering now year 2 at TSF.
Okay. So who or what inspired you to get into sports?
Man, so you mentioned it early. I would say I kind of grew up being in a college town around an athletic program like UGA. I would say my first inspiration would definitely be from my dad. Both of my parents are very big into athletics. My mom is actually a killer tennis player. She and my current fiance, they play on a team together. So my mom may or may not be one of the better athletes in the family. No offense to dad, but so I grew up around it. I was, at Stegman Coliseum, at Sanford Stadium, around the Butts-Mehre building. So I was just around it a lot. Really, really enjoyed just being around all different types of sports. And then I had a couple friends that I grew up with playing club soccer. I played soccer for a long time. So fellow graduates, my best friend Cole Wilson, who I'm actually he's getting married in a couple weeks. I'm in his wedding, so that's those Clark Central ties are very strong. But yeah, so a couple close friends, him, Shoal Wright, a couple other friends where we grew up playing soccer together, and that was really the sport that I focused the most on. Now I've always loved basketball. I played on a great Clark Middle School team with some all-time greats. I was coming off the coattails of the Cameron Johnson years, but I've actually connected with one of my teammates, Jamison Thomas, is here in Atlanta. He's been helping train with the Skill Factory, as well as Rayshawn McCall, Jaquan Daniels. So was some good days back then in the CMS days. I know I'm name dropping for some of those Clark County folks out there. I was not. I was more of a practice player, as you could say, the 4th-string point guard. So, but I did have the opportunity to dribble out a Classic City championship my 7th grade year. So that was a lot of fun. But and yeah, so did that. And then played tennis at Clark Central High School for 3 years as well. Played with one of my best friends, Ellis Fleury, who also played basketball, and worked or played under Coach Stephen Henson, who I know you know very well, from the South Georgia ties. So yeah, so I mean, I've just always been around it, always loved it. Did a lot of journalism as well with the Odyssey News magazine at Clark Central. That's where I kind of like developed a passion for just being around sports, covering sports. So yeah, I love it from all angles, man. I'm ingrained and embedded. So
Okay. So I remember one conversation that we did have was you interviewing Deshaun Watson. So please tell the people about that.
right. So that's actually a funny story. So going into my sophomore year of high school at Clark Central, I wanted to expand my role as a sports writer. And I was brainstorming ideas over the summer with my advisor, David Ragsdale, who you know as well. And he's big into sports. He was very supportive. And we were brainstorming ideas. And I was like, we've got Cameron Johnson, who was a dual sport athlete. Deshaun Watson, who a lot of people don't know was a dual sport athlete as well, was very good at basketball at Gainesville. So we have 2 star quarterbacks in the region. And so my idea was to interview them both and kind of do a story. Initially, it was to write a story about how they had kind of come up, their background, competing against each other. And then it just turned into, it made more sense to just do it as 2 separate Q&A pieces. So I interviewed Cameron Johnson, who later attended College of Charleston, went to an NCAA tournament. He now works with player development for the San Antonio Spurs. So you're talking about 2 quarterbacks in the same region. Now both of the guys are involved in pro sports. I mean, that's pretty rare. And also, so back to interviewing Deshaun, because I'm always Clark Central first. We don't like Gainesville over this way. So I gotta give props to my Glads. But Deshaun was great. So I had reached out to his high school coach. Coach was like, "Yep, let's do it. You can call me. We can talk a little bit." I interviewed his coach as well. Then he puts me on the phone with Deshaun during like a weight training class. So we're getting into, I'm talking about, I had 2 pages of prepared questions because I was like not very adept at interviewing yet. I was kind of reading off the script, so I had these, and I had highlighted, I still have it to this day. I had highlighted the questions and I was like, okay, I really need to ask these. But I'm talking about I had probably like 50 questions written out. And so, 15 minutes goes by, 15, 20 minutes, we're getting into it. It's going well. And then all of a sudden I hear an alarm, like not an alarm, but the school bell ring, like ding, ding, ding. And he kind of pauses for a sec. And he's like, and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, "Hey man, I have to go. I have to go to my next class." And so we didn't even get to do the full interview. And I was kind of bummed because I had some questions for most of my important questions were saved towards the end. I was like, "Oh man, I really screwed that up." So I emailed the coach back. I was like, "Hey, we didn't really get into the full meat and potatoes of the interview." So he actually set up a second interview for me to ask some follow-up questions. I mean, it was really, really it was a great setup for somebody like me who was young, didn't know what he was doing. And the coach was very gracious towards me. And then of course they came in. So we published the Q&As. We had the big time matchup, in Death Valley at Clark Central that year, 2 top teams coming in, and man, they beat the brakes off us. I tell the story of okay, my senior year or my sophomore year, his senior year at Gainesville, he came into Death Valley. He scored 6 touchdowns. He threw for 3. He ran for 2, and he caught one. They ran a play where they did the pitch, and then he runs around and he caught a touchdown. So it was bad. It was 56-28, but It was a fun time, man. But Deshaun is a very cool guy for sure when I dealt with him.
Okay. So you talk to a future NFL player. You talk to a guy who's now in pro sports, but you can't have all those great people without having some I'll say charisma about yourself, because
Right.
you're director of operations at the Skill Factory, which is not a slouch in today's world with all the products that come through. You have Bones Highland who trained there. You have a lot of Atlanta greats who come by the facilities. They train all the time. So talk to me about like TSF and how much it impacts Atlanta basketball.
Right. So that's a great question. TSF is positioned very well in what I would call basically now this is no disrespect to New York or Chicago, but I believe a lot of people that you talk to today, Atlanta is the hub of basketball in the United States. And so TSF is positioned very well in the Atlanta area. We have a couple different partnerships, a couple different facilities that we use, very in tune with the local training crowd. Obviously, we have teams on the Nike EYBL circuit. We have high school prep, post grad, girls program. So there's a lot of and last but not least, the NBA pre-draft training program as well. So TSF has it basically, John, has modeled itself after the European club model of sports. So like for soccer or basketball or different sports, where athletes are training year round in their skills with the same organization, right? So I give a great example of, in soccer, I grew up playing soccer.
Right.
Lionel Messi, he came up all the way through the FC Barcelona academy program. He was like, they signed him when he was like 10 years old or something like that. He was playing club, and then finally, they brought him up onto the top team, and now he's one of the best soccer players of all time. And so the idea is very similar, that it's year-round development, that it's holistic development. We're focusing not just on the court skills as well as, but also the athlete recovery, strength and conditioning, allowing more time in your day versus a traditional high school day, right? You know it, I know it. When we were in high school and you're a 2 or 3 sport athlete, you're waking up at 6, 7 a.m. If you want to get a workout in, you got to do that before school. You're going to school, you're in 4 classes for like an hour and a half, 2 hours each.
Yeah.
You got your little bit of lunch break. Then you got practice after. You might have club practice after that. I mean, I remember when I was playing soccer, we would have school practice and then you're headed right to club practice. And then, you get home and then you've still got all your homework. It's just it. And for us as young athletes, young people, a lot of times the thing that we compromise is sleep, right? So you're doing all your different activities. You got to get your homework done. You end up staying up past midnight to get all your stuff done. Or even if you don't have any homework, you're probably on your phone, you're on Instagram, social media. That's when you're socializing with your friends. Right. And there's no time for the sleep component or the rest component. So at TSF, rest, recovery, conditioning is all kind of incorporated into the program, especially with our high school prep, where our guys are in an online study program. Now they're still in, they still have practice going on. They still have meals. They still have study hall, but the study hall is focused on that 2 hours of intensive time where we take away their phones. They're locked in on class. So you're maximizing that time. And then you're able to do all the things that are required of a high performing, basketball athlete. And that's getting them ready for college. So TSF is very well positioned in the area, has a lot of really good partnerships and relationships. And I'm just fortunate to be a part of it at this time. So.
Yeah, of course. So now, if young Kevin was at TSF, what would be his role at TSF?
Like we're talking like high school.
Team. Yeah, high school young Kevin.
Oh gosh, so I can hop out there and practice every once in a while, but it takes me a minute to get going. I have to, as a 5'10", as a guard, I got to earn my respect, right? I used to do that in Clark Central PE classes, but Kevin is very much a passer, cutter, spacer. He's not trying to get buckets or anything like that. He sets really good screens. He's going to go in there and fight for some rebounds. So Kevin can get up and down a little bit. I've actually probably gotten better since my high school days, since I've just grown a little bit and put on a little bit of weight, so now I can bang with the bigger bodies. But yeah, he would not be much more than a a cutter, screener, a glue guy, if you will.
Hey, glue guys are essential in today's league now.
That's right.
Very essential. So talk to me about how do you attract kids to come to TSF and be like, hey, mom and dad, let's have a sit down conversation. I want to leave my school to come to TSF.
Right. So we just went through this exact process this week. We just had a local player by the name of Jeremiah Wilkinson in the 2024 class just announced. So we had, the whole this whole process, and breaking it down for parents, especially in person, is really important, because they're entrusting their kids, academics, development, all of that to you. And that's a big trust factor, right? And it's different from a traditional high school experience that I had, whether it be for you, at Social Circle, or myself at Clark Central. Like, I only ever knew one high school, and I was there for 4 years. And so the biggest pieces that we focus on are NCAA eligibility, making sure that we're meeting all those requirements. We're in track with the NCAA.
Oh, yeah.
We partner with a company called Honest Game that reviews our transcripts, helps us with academic progress. So that's very helpful. We're partnered with the Brandon Hall School, which is an international boarding school here in Atlanta. So that's kind of our physical campus as far as live-in, meals, academics, where we're doing study hall. That's our campus. And so it's very important. Like, we obviously we accentuate the basketball development. We break it down for players, how our development can specifically help them, what aspects of their game that they can work on, what they can do well, what they can develop in the habits they can develop off the court. That's all very important in kind of our process. And then from there, it's just about relationships, and developing trust. And I'm really excited that all of our kids, like so many of our kids that started with us in year one, that took a risk when we started the high school team. Like, we have Caden Cooper coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And he was, a 3-star going into last year. Now he's a top 50 player in the country nationally, and is deciding between, Kansas, Gonzaga, Texas, all of the different places that you could want to go. He trusted us in coming here, and it really worked out for him. We have Rodrigo Farias, who is local, Lathan Somerville, who's from up north. And so it's exciting that all those people enjoyed their experience in year one and are excited to come back and develop some more in year two. I think that speaks a lot to your program, the health of your program, is if not, not just getting kids for a year for their senior year, like a Cam Craft, but getting kids in early and developing, they can see the growth and they want to stay with TSF for the long term. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, yeah. The proof is in the pudding. You got a top 50 player. You had Cam Craft, who's now at Xavier, I think he's going to excel in that system.
Right.
So I believe TSF is the real deal.
That's right.
Many more to come. So now we're finna get into the game, or this or that. I give you two options. You choose between one or another.
Okay.
Would you rather have cake or ice cream?
Ice cream.
What kind of ice cream?
I'm a little bit weird. I like my top two is, like, if I go to Brewster's, that cotton candy explosion, or if I go to DQ, the cotton candy blizzard. Like, that's right in my lane. I also like birthday cake. Strawberry is a good just basic flavor, but it'd have to be that cotton candy for me. I know that's hit or miss. Some people are like, I love it. I'm right there with you. Then some people are like, what are you talking about? That's the last thing I would pick. So
Yeah, I'm not with you on the cotton candy. Like what makes cotton candy like so good?
well, if you ever go to Brewster's and you have the explosion, so they got those like you know how it is, like the little bites that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like burst in your mouth and whatnot. So that adds a little flavor. And then I don't know, man. I just like candy flavored stuff. It's just kind of I have a sweet tooth, so that's the way that I'm going. So
Okay. I can feel you on that. I can feel you on that. So now would you rather have a home cooked meal or would you rather go out and get something to eat?
oh man, like normally what I like my day to day, I'm not gonna lie to you, John. Like my day to day is normally going out and having a taste of a couple different fast food places that I frequent that that we all know of here in
Yeah.
Georgia. But man, if I get to really pick, if there's no limitations, I'm driving all the way. I'm driving 30 minutes to Winder, Georgia to have a home cooked meal from grandma. So that's how I'm gonna rock with that question.
Okay, so what meal does grandma cook that makes you want to go back and eat?
Right. So she used to always do something. I don't know how she does it, man. She makes the most simple meals taste excellent. Right. So our favorite thing was like she called it favorite chicken. She used to but it was just like Tyson chicken that she used to just bake in the oven. Like there's nothing special. It's not like it's not like she was making the chicken or breading it or anything like that. But favorite chicken, she used to do like a sweet potato souffle with the
Mm,
marshmallows.
yeah, I
You
know
got
about
your
that.
you got your sweet corn, this is where I developed the sweet tooth from. It runs in the family. So you got she makes a mean peach cobbler,
Mm,
so green bean casserole, like all that type of stuff. So
okay.
if I had to pick, that's where I'm going.
Okay. I now I'm seeing the vision. Grandma makes simple things like she makes simple things they're so extraordinary and it's like it's so simple, but it tastes way different coming from her.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, so now it's game day. Would you
Okay.
rather, would you rather have wings or burgers?
Oof. I It depends on the day, man. There's not a cut and dry answer.
Hmm.
But generally these days I tend more towards wings. So we went last night for National Wing Day. We went to Taco Mac here in Atlanta. It's like right across the street.
Oh yeah.
And they had the 50% off, on the wings. So me and Coach Trey Scotty, who's the head coach, we live together now for TSF. We went over there. So it was a good time, had by all, but I do love a good burger from the varsity. That's something me and my dad used to do a lot. I'm sad that it's no longer in downtown Athens. But yeah, so I would say I trend more towards wings.
Okay. Okay. What type of wings though?
I generally go on the side of boneless,
Okay.
but if I go bone in, I like a flat, and then we're going any form of like barbecue, honey barbecue. Last night I tried honey chipotle. Honey chipotle, that was pretty good at Taco Mac. But yeah, we're sticking in the very sweet to sweet and sour type of range. So
Okay. Okay. But still the varsity burgers, I
I'm
still
saying, man, I'm saying,
no hot take the varsity is not even the top five fast food restaurant.
woo, that
It's
is a hot take.
it's not
M-
to
Mike
me.
Mobley wouldn't appreciate that one. I'm gonna send this clip to him. So
I know Mr. Mike would enjoy hearing that. I know he would. Okay, so tell me, with your wings or with your burger, which side would you rather have, fries or tater tots?
ooh, man. If I'm gonna be true to self, I would probably say fries, like a really good hand cut fry. That's what I'm rocking with.
Okay, hand cut, not waffle.
I mean, I don't discriminate. I like all types of fries, but
Okay,
but yeah, the hand cut ones, those do it for me for sure.
okay. So now you're on the sideline coaching.
Okay.
Would you rather have the polo shirt with the two buttons, or would you rather have the hoodie that matches the sweatsuit?
Oh yeah, on the sidelines we rock polos only.
Okay,
Polos only. So we might go, it depends on the color of slacks now, depending on like, I'm very like, some of my fellow coaches don't really, I have some coaches that are with me on this, some are not. I'm very much by the book when it comes to what you're wearing on a game day. So like, if we're the home team, right, and we're out there, if we're the home team, our guys are going to be wearing the white jerseys.
All right.
We're not going to be wearing a white polo, right? So we're usually rocking, like if it was Winder Barrow, we're rocking the red polo. And me and Coach McDaniel over there, we were in sync, but like I got to TSF and they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm like, oh man, we got to be looking fresh on the sidelines. So, so I rock, I'm a 2-button polo all the way. If I were to show you my closet that I'm looking at right now, it's got about 30 different polos, 30 different polos. So,
I mean, yeah. Now I see it. Yeah, I think, but the red with the white, I see it now because you guys like stand out.
Right.
This show,
well,
like,
you just don't want to. Yeah. You want to alternate. You know what I mean? So.
Okay. So now, which position do you enjoy more? Being behind the scenes as the ops person or being on the court as a coach?
Man, so I enjoy aspects of both. Like I enjoy helping guys with stuff off the court, whether it's their academics, myself and a coach that I worked with at the Skill Factory, Tyson Campbell. We coached a post-grad team last year and we did like a life skills class for a couple different weeks. So we talked about presenting in front of others, like public speaking, how to network, different things, life skills that would be applicable, building a resume. So that was a lot of fun. But man, like I was a head coach for my first AAU team this summer, and there's nothing like that head coaching experience. Like I initially said, man, I never wanted to head coach because I did it one time for like a fall league team for Winder Barrow. And I hated having to choose who was in the game, like making subs. It's my least favorite thing. Like I want everybody to play. And so, but I really enjoyed my experience now, feeling a lot more comfortable. So yeah, there's nothing like being on the sidelines for sure.
Okay. So now you're in the Atlanta area and both teams are trending upward. So would you rather own the Hawks or would you rather own the Braves?
Ooh, I don't know about that. That's a good question. I've never really thought about it. I think it would be fun to be a part of the Hawks, just to get there. Like the Braves, reach the mountaintop with the World Series championship, and we're all about that. And the Hawks are next up. So like we need, I think it would be fun to be a part of that ride for the Hawks, no doubt.
Okay. So now basketball is big everywhere that you go. So
Right.
now, would you rather go to a UNC and Duke game or would you rather go to an NBA Finals game?
Oh, that's no question, man. I love the college atmosphere, whether it's basketball, football. So the finals would be cool, but no, get me into a UNC Duke game and Cameron Indoor. There's only like 1,000 people. It's packed to the brim. That would be a lot of fun. So no doubt, no question there.
Have you ever been inside Cameron Indoor?
I had been inside once. So we did some campus tours back when I was like in 8th grade. We went to a couple of the Carolina schools, and Mr. Mike, my dad pulled a couple strings to get us in there. So that was a lot of fun. That was actually before they built, I think, the new indoor facility, or right as they were building it. So, but man, it was crazy. I mean, it's like a small gym, like you're going in there, like, and it looks like just any other building on campus. You're walking in, it's like, this could be the library. You know what I mean? Like, but you walk in there and it's like, it's a lot of fun, man. It's just an old school feel. So I have been inside, but not for a game though. That's a bucket list item for sure.
No, because I remember I went because we went on a college road trip for my sister. So we went to like through Alabama, through Mississippi, went up to Tennessee, went to North Carolina, and came back down. So basically, we went to Duke. We went on a Duke tour for my sister. Phenomenal campus.
Right.
And then it was like, hey, do you guys want to go to Cameron Indoor? My friends was like, yeah, let's go. so the first that you walk in is like you see all the former players stuff, and you're like, dang, like this really it. Like I'm finna see what's inside. As soon as you walk in, like you like, bruh, this what I see on TV. Like on TV, it make it seem so much more bigger. It make those 3,000 people feel like you're finna playing in front of 30. And then
Right.
when I was done, like, bruh, Carson's gym basically as big as just tear down the wall,
I know it. I know
tear
it.
down the wall, and just had the bleachers go around, wrap around. I'm like, wow. But it's honestly a sight to see because like all the banners they have hung up, the retired jersey numbers. I just really enjoy it. I think it's the scenery that gets me.
Right.
The,
Right.
the
No
scenery.
doubt. It's
scenery.
old school, man. It's old school.
Yeah. Okay, so now you already say you love college over the pros, but which coach would you rather be an assistant coach for? Coach
Okay.
or Coach K?
Uh Probably Coach Popovich, man. Like I've seen just his relationship with his players, his kind of presence, sustained culture. I mean, Coach K has that as well, but just sustained culture. It's tougher to maintain culture right in the NBA over long stretches because you have guys on max contracts, you have guys leaving in free agency. There's a million different things going on. College, you can control your environment, I feel like, a little bit more. Everybody's kind of working towards the same goal, and obviously the coaches have a little bit more a lot more say in what's going on. So I think it's impressive that Coach Pop is still at it and has maintained such a impactful culture over the long stretch, is what I would say. So
Right.
I would want to learn a little bit more about that.
Okay. Okay, but I get it though, because like in the NBA you have like grown men, and like they have a family to feed, so like they want to get as much money as they can, so they'll like, I think the egos will come into it, but in college, like they're still kids, they still want to like learn and still want to be great, but obviously like you get to learn from them. But I feel like in the NBA it's so much harder, because like I think after a person gets a certain amount of money, they just stop caring. So
Right. Well, it does change. It changes your outlook. It changes your, demeanor towards, like, it changes, your orientation. I can't really speak to it. I've never seen, I don't think I could dream up that much money. But I would, even if I feel like if you went about it in all the right ways, you manage your money well, you're a good team player and stuff like that, it is going to change your status, and it is going to change just the types of things that you demand, you anticipate of others, so I think it's a difficult working environment, sure, for sure. And the ability to connect with players, I've been told by some people that have worked in pro basketball, it's more the relationship kind of comes second. You have to prove what you know as a coach. You will never be respected as a coach in the pros if you don't know anything, if you can't teach good concepts, good development to players. You have to prove it, otherwise they're never going to respect you. That was one thing that I learned, that I thought, in college, I feel like sometimes it's the other way with the recruitment process, right? You have to build the relationship, develop that trust, and then you develop. In the pros, it's kind of the opposite. So it's very interesting. I feel like that's tough. That puts more pressure on coaches.
yeah, because when I think about it, like Coach Popovich, he coached an Olympic team, and I have to think like all these all stars, like you have to like show them like, yeah, I can coach. Like you're gonna listen to me today. And then
Right.
and then with Coach K, he had Kobe, CP3, LeBron, D Wade, all these guys. I'm like when on their own teams, like they have like these like it's like the weight of the world is on your shoulders coaching them. But it's on the Olympic team, like they'll sit down and listen to you, because like obviously they have the utmost respect. You, cause I feel like in a certain way the players have a say in who they want to coach them. So I,
Right.
so I feel like in that certain way, you have to gain that trust from them, and
Right.
they have to see the product
Right.
throughout all the seasons.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, so now between these two college coaches, who would you rather learn from? Coach Izzo or Coach Bruce Pearl?
I would probably say Coach Izzo. I think he's always intrigued me as somebody that just seems very, very passionate. He's been around the game for a long time, had the chance to develop a lot of different players to go to the pro ranks. I mean, he's a big, like, he develops point guards really well, so like I would be interested in learning, like, guard development and whatnot. So yeah, I think Coach Izzo, man, he's fiery. Like, like I always like a coach that's not afraid to get a little bit animated on the sidelines. So I think I would say Coach Izzo for sure.
Okay, so now if you had a documentary series, who would you want to record it and edit all these things? Would you rather have ESPN do it or Netflix to do it?
Ooh, man, I love some good Netflix stuff, but there was a sports related documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I would say probably like those ESPN 30 for 30s, man. There's not a lot that beats it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say ESPN.
Okay. So what's your favorite 30 for 30?
I just said that I was in a class the other day. We were talking about this. I had a class for Georgia State that was like cinematic sport. So we watched some movies and then we had to like write papers and discuss it with classmates and whatnot. Um, and so we had a discussion where this came up, and I would say one, it's one of the earlier ones. I think it was in season one. Um, and it's less well known, but if you've ever seen the two Escobars,
Two
it
S.
has to do with Pablo Escobar.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
first time before Narcos ever came out. There was the two
Right.
Escobars on ESPN 30 for 30. Talks about his relationship with the Colombian national soccer team when they were really good. And it's
Yeah.
very, very interesting, man. It's heavy. It's heavy stuff. I watched that as a kid, and I probably should not have watched that in middle school, but it's it's very well done. So I would say that's probably my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, because like my favorites growing up, because like my dad, he was a big sports fanatic. So we used to have ESPN playing throughout the day. And then when it came 30 for 30, he was like, yeah, you need to sit down and watch this. So you'll learn what I used to watch growing up as a kid and that and like
Right.
young adult. So like he made me watch the Bad Boys series.
Right.
Thomas. I was like, so back in the day, y'all used to beat up each other. He was like, no, they did. I just watched. I was like, no, that was crazy. I love the Bad Boys. Oh, I love the Fab Five. I don't know the swagger of the team,
Right. That's a great one.
and then it's just like them just betting on themselves, like the freshmen all just said, "Let's go to school together." They put the egos aside and they just started winning. Unfortunately, they didn't win a championship till later on, but I always loved that, and I always loved the U series when they had like Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and all those guys coming in.
Right.
Because I was like, dang, Miami, you went to school in Miami and you just had a ball.
Right.
And then like I feel like they were so talented. Like they I feel like they were one of the few teams of all time who could just turn on and turn off like just like that. Right
Right.
at the time. So I feel like that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. So yeah, those three stand out to me when I was a kid.
Right.
Right. So now we're gonna go back to food. Would you rather own a restaurant, a sit-down restaurant, or would you rather own a fast food restaurant?
Oh, I always like when you ask that type of question, my first thought is like crunching the numbers.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. What would be more beneficial financially? I would say, like yeah, I think fast food, just because, you can make the experience really efficient. Obviously there's some places that do it really well as far as a good sit down and drive through experience, such as like Chick-fil-A, or I just recently went on vacation to the West Coast,
Mhm.
and In-N-Out does a pretty good job
Yeah.
with both of those. So yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun, I would say.
Okay. Okay. So now the final question is, would you rather travel to Puerto Rico or travel to Australia?
Oh wow. Um Man, I did a research project at Clark Middle one time on Australia, but it's so far that you never really think of going. Like I can't imagine what that flight is like. But so yeah, I think Puerto Rico. I think Puerto Rico would be a lot of fun.
Puerto Rico. But maybe TSF can go to Puerto Rico for like a national thing.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? So
Yeah.
we do our international stuff. So like I'm rocking we have a partnership with the NBA Academy.
Oh
So they
yeah.
have the NBA Academy games. Yeah. So those are usually down in Mexico. So yeah, and then we hosted some of their teams up in Atlanta this past month. So who knows, man? Who knows? Who knows?
Okay. So now, how did you enjoy this or that?
It was good, man. It was good. The questions were like it wasn't the typical questions that you get. It made me think a little bit. So I commend you on that for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. So now back to your coaching career, I would say, what lessons did you learn under Coach McDaniel at Wonder Barrel?
Right. So I really learned just about everything in terms of how to run a program. So the first piece, and I was kind of there, I was there before the start and then got to see the whole kind of transition to being, really one of the more competitive teams in Class 6A, especially in a very difficult region. A team where we kind of turned it around a little bit there, achieved some things that hadn't been done in Winder history in a long time. So I'd say some of the things I learned from Coach Mack were definitely time efficiency and time management. He was like always early to everything. Everything was scripted. Like you gotta put in your work and whatnot. Like that was the biggest thing, was like the player development that I didn't even realize until I got to a place like TSF, and it's heavy on player development. And I was like, okay, we were doing good stuff at Winder. Like he knew what he was doing. So I'd say like, time management, efficiency. I would say like accountability and discipline, like he was very good about, setting clear standards for the program. If you're late to film, then you got to run. If you're late to practice, like, yeah, and just different things like, the little details that really matter in terms of winning games, building a championship culture. So, but the player development, man, like he's one of the best, just like in the gym, on the court coaches, in Georgia high school basketball. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And so, yeah, it was, seeing the player development, the film study as well, how to cut up film, be very efficient with it. I mean, he runs it like a college program pretty much, because that's kind of where, his understanding and influences come from. So yeah, I would say those things, just how to develop players. Weight room, man, like we totally turned the strength and conditioning program around. Our guys got stronger, put on muscle, got in great shape. So just how to run a weight room, throughout the, whole course of, integrated with the school day, with the weight training class and stuff like that. He's very hands-on with that. So yeah, I mean, I can't name a lot of things that I didn't learn. He does a great job. So
Okay. So now what lesson did you learn and apply to yourself with coaching with your AC Georgia team?
right. So it's funny that you bring that up right after talking about Coach Mack. Like a lot of, man, when I was having to go, down the play call sheet and draw us up some buckets, man, I was just going right back to that Winder playbook. We worked a lot on that together, just executing plays and whatnot. But yeah, I was able to apply. I think he did a great job of being very enthusiastic and being very supportive of the players. I think he also demanded a lot out of them. I think one of the biggest things where I felt very comfortable and probably would not have, before working with Coach McDaniel, was how to organize a practice. So how to make things efficient, how to maximize drills where everybody's getting reps, and track shooting numbers, and just do all these different things during practice where it feels like everybody's getting reps and everybody's getting better. Installing plays that are simple yet effective, so not going through, a set that's got 3 different, counters and stuff like that, very complex. In AAU, you don't have as much time. You don't have the players every day to be able to do that and, just continue to drill and drill and drill. So you have to install concepts and teach them how to make reads in ways that they can learn how to play the game, as opposed to teaching them where to be on the court. So that was one thing. And then just, the defensive toughness standpoint. I think when you're tougher on defense, you're more active on defense. Usually that wins in AAU, just because, you don't have everybody's not out there trying to, pick up 94 feet or rebound, box out. Like, a lot of people think that great defense, especially in AAU, a lot of people think that it's just how do you guard the ball? But there's so many things that college coaches are looking for that aren't guarding the ball. Like, how do you play off the ball? How do you guard screens? How do you rebound?
Yes.
Like, do you double team the ball when you're not supposed to? Do you gamble? Are you in the right position? So it's like, we wanted to teach those things as well, which is a lot of stuff we worked on at Winder and, can have continued to work on at TSF, that help players develop and be in a better position to play in college. Because, like, in college, as you know, not everybody's like, it's very rare that you go in as a freshman and start and score right away. Like, scoring's not what gets you playing time. It's being able to defend, not turn the ball over, make the right pass, know how to run the plays, do all the things you need to do off the court. So it's developing a program for AAU that helps them realize that. So, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So with coaching for AC Georgia and all the lessons that you learned, what would you say was like the toughest game you had to coach for this AAU season?
Man, I've had a couple. We had a point in the season where it's like we had some early season attrition. So we started off with 8 guys, and we lost a couple, and then we recruited some more, which was great. By the end of the season, we were kind of rolling, but there were some games in April and, in early May where we were out there with 6 dudes. Like, sometimes that's AAU. So, like, I can remember a couple games we coached, like, during the second live period. Like, I had 6 guys. It's finding ways to win when you don't have depth, you don't have subs, everybody's tired. How do you tweak your game plan to, like, obviously I want to pressure on defense, but it's not as advantageous to pressure when you only have 6 guys and you're wearing them out, and then they can't finish layups or, make the easy pass because they're so tired. So I would say finding ways to win or just be competitive. We didn't win a lot of games during that stretch, but, like, finding ways to be competitive. We won one game actually at a hoopsie tournament where we had 5 guys the whole game. So that just kind of speaks to the group, man, their resiliency. When you can win with 5, you've got a good group. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But that speaks volume about your coaching, though.
No, not really. It's a credit to the players, man. It maybe some on the court stuff, but, like, a good coach would make sure that there's more than 5 players at the game. So
But a great coach makes sure they get W, though.
Sure, that's fair. So
Right. So talk to me about the program of AC Georgia as whole. What made you say, hey, I'll coach this team?
Right. So, as you're familiar with Isaiah Nelson Adota, who's a good friend of mine. So I coached him for 4 years at Winder Barrow, and during the summer of his rising senior year, he played with a great AC Georgia team. So he played with Manny Harris, who's now down your way.
Yeah.
That's right. He played with RJ Nord, who was at Elon. Josh Reed, who's headed up to Cincinnati, one of the better AC Georgia teams, in program history. And I thought it was the best that he had played maybe in his high school career, sometimes even better than playing with us. He looked out there. They run a lot of stuff, to provide versatility for big men. So it wasn't, hey, Zay, you're 6'10", you got to set screens and got to go rebound and get putbacks, and we're going to throw it to you every once in a while in the post. It's, hey, Zay, you can shoot. We know this. You're coming off this pin down and you got to hit this shot, or you got to play handoff, like it gave him the opportunity to showcase who he was as a player. So then that was kind of like the point where I wanted to like I knew that I wanted to coach AAU this summer, and I kind of had the prior relationship with the program director, Coach Garrick Respers. So I reached out, was like, hey, I just want to be involved. And it kind of just went from there, you know. So we had the second team, but we were not, you know, by the end of the year, man, we had really earned our respect. You know, I give a lot of credit to those kids. We had a good group, kids from, you know, from Atlanta. We had one kid from down in Henry County. This kid named Chance Whitfield plays at Union Grove.
Oh yeah.
He's tough, man. He's tough. So he's a true point guard, man. He's a lot of fun to coach. Um, and a couple kids from Galloway, Greater Atlanta Christian. So we had a Providence school. So we had a wide mix of guys, which was a lot of fun too, to see them come together and build relationships. But yeah, that's how we got it rolling. So
Okay. So talk to me about when live period came, you walked in the gym with your team, and you saw all these college coaches with at these high profile tournaments. How nervous were you as a coach for your players and yourself?
that's a great question. And I'm not gonna lie to you. So like it's very easy, you know, you wanna obviously act like you've been there before, but I've never been there before. I've never been a head coach during a live period in front of coaches. And I think there's a difference between playing just a normal AAU tournament where you got parents and you got evaluators and stuff like that, you know, the other teams there. There's a difference when there are other college coaches in the gym because you know that they know what good coaching looks like and what good fundamentals, like they have a different, and that's what they're looking for in the players. And so a certain extent, what happens on the court is a reflection of you as a coach. And so, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like you get there, and you know, you've talked to these coaches. I'm lucky to, and very fortunate to have some relationships with some coaches that came to check us out during the live period. And you know, so you talk to them, you feel like you know basketball, you know what you've seen on film, you know what you've seen in practice. But it's a different thing, man, when you get that out there in front of coaches and really let it loose. So the guys do a great job of executing. Like all my players, man, they were very bought in on being a part of a team, not just a part of an AAU opportunity for them to showcase their own talents or skills, but how do I play with other guys and compete to win?
Right.
And that shows. Some of the defensive stuff, like we talked about, shows, and executing on offense shows. And so, yeah, so I think sometimes people go into AAU thinking it's all about scoring and making highlight plays, but like coaches are going to know if you can score and they can know what you can do athletically. They want to see kind of more than that. But yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like you get nervous, not even so much for myself, like winning and losing games. Like if the kids are getting better and developing, that's what I care about. But you do get nervous for the kids. You want them to show off their best that you've seen to other people, because a coach might come for a half and that's all they're there to watch. And you get that 16 minutes to make an impression. And that's very valuable. You know, that's life-changing stuff right there. So you do get nervous for the kids. You just want to see them put their best foot forward. But you get used to it after, you know, once you do it once, then it's kind of becomes normal. And I think that's what some of the best AAU coaches have embodied. You know, it's nothing new. So
Okay, so talk to me about what college coaches have you talked to about your players for AC Georgia?
right. So the good thing is, man, like once we added a couple new players, you know, in the mid-year, Caleb Smith, who played with us, he just graduated from Douglas High School. He's going to do a reclass year. Um, Caleb Smith, great player, really fun to coach. I mean, very, very fun to coach. Very tough. Loves the game. Is always in the gym. He was at a different level. That, no offense to our guys, I think they know this. Like when Caleb joined our team, it was a different feel. He had actually played earlier in the summer with the Atlanta Celtics, and then decided he was going to post grad. But then it was obviously, he's close with one of my other players in their family, Amir Arrington, whose older brother Anthony Arrington is headed to Wofford. Yeah, so the Arringtons were very close with our program, and they knew Caleb, and so that just kind of worked out, just with the timing of it, that he didn't have a team. And so we've been in touch with a couple different Division I schools from the Sun Belt, so right in your neck of the woods, couple schools, couple HBCUs as well, and a couple different other schools to basically get him the looks going into a post-grad year. And then a couple other guys were recruited by Division IIs and Division IIIs. Piedmont, Oglethorpe, Reinhardt, a lot of those local area places have been a lot of fun, have been in contact with us. So we have guys that have been recruited, D1, D2, D3, and NAIA, like all different levels. And that's been a lot of fun. So no offers on the board yet, but we've had a lot of good conversations. So we're just, excited to see those kids take off, in the future years of their development.
Yeah, it's all about putting the kids to the next level. It's all about putting the kids to the next level. So talk to me about being a director of operations at TSF. Whoa, like what's in a day in the life for you?
Right. So a day in the life there is no day that looks like the other. So basically it could look like working on academic support. It could look like scheduling travel. It could look like, obviously, I'm excited for when we're actually practicing, getting practices rolling and actually getting on the court. It could be recruiting, dealing with other things, the budget. So the things that I really like to do have to do with player support and player development, helping the individuals. So whether it's going to the doctor's office or helping them see the trainer, or just all those different things that it comes with, I think is probably the most enjoyable. But like I said, like you get thrown things all the time, so you never really know. So.
Okay. So before you were a director of operation at TSF, you were an intern for the NBA draft process. So talk to me about like how hectic was that for you, of you not trying to mess up in front of those elite level guys and in front of your future employer.
Right. So I think part of that comes with knowing like you're supposed to stay as much out of the way as possible. Like it's not about you. I think that was the big thing, is just being there to supplement and to lead in small ways. Still being confident to do the things that I was tasked with doing, not being, there it's definitely a different level. You're dealing with agents, you're dealing with guys that are going to be getting, $1 million contracts in a couple months. So you're very much, you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. But, being confident to be yourself, I think is a big thing, but also knowing that it's not about you. You got to get out of the way, and just do what you're tasked with. So for me, it was a lot of recording the workouts. It was making, keeping track of the equipment, making sure we had balls, towels, wiping up sweat, driving the guys where they needed to go. And that's where you can build some relationships and some trust, but knowing very much it's not about you.
Okay. So now you have a new season coming up. So what goals do you look forward to what goals you look forward to take down for this next season?
Yeah, I think our goals is, one of the things that we're really proud of is like, like our, like placing guys to college, so graduation and college placement, like that's way more important than, obviously we want to win at a high level. We're going to compete with a really great schedule, but I think it's college placement and graduation are the biggest things. Did the guys develop in ways that are tangible, right? So did shooting numbers improve? Did defensive numbers improve? Did they feel like they got better? Did they get stronger? Did they get faster? So like there's definitely different ways to measure that. And then that shows, on film as well. So I think like player development and academic development, obviously we want to win as many games as possible. We're not in a conference. We're not competing for a championship. It's very different from high school basketball. You're not trying to win a region. You're not trying to make it to state tournament. You're just trying to, get the games in for development and win at a high level. So it's different goals. but I like the goals that we have. Absolutely.
Okay, so now for next season, what is going to be your pregame ritual, your pregame meal, and what's on your pregame playlist?
That's funny. I don't have very many. One thing I used to do when I was at Winder was I would never, I always would stay in the tracksuit. Like I would wear the tracksuit all day, and then I wouldn't put on like the sideline gear, so like polo, slacks, shirt, undershirt, all that type of stuff. I wouldn't put that on until when the guys dressed out. So like usually you show up halftime of the girls' game, right? You know this. You were a high school basketball player. You show up before halftime of the girls' game. You watch a little bit of the girls' game. Then you change at halftime, right? So like that was when I like to get changed and then get locked in. Maybe that was just to have me still feeling young, feel like one of the guys still, but I'm not very big into rituals. I will change up now if things are going bad. I will change up like the shoes, the pants. Like sometimes you got to change up the mojo a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of that. I would say as far as pregame meal, man, it's anything convenient. Anything that's light. Maybe like a sandwich or something like that. And then I would say probably like pregame playlists. Man, I mean, actually, last year I was in charge of like putting together the pregame playlist, like that
Oh
we would
no, that's too
play.
much pressure. That's
It
too
is
much.
a lot of pressure, but I did a pretty good job. But obviously a clean playlist,
Oh
something we
yeah.
could play, in the gym. But yeah, I don't know. I listen to what the guys listen to. So, the newest stylings. I'm a big, little baby guy because, he's from Atlanta and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that's probably what I've got the tunes in. So
Okay, so now TSF is like you have a global team. You know guys from AC Georgia and everything. So talk to me about some famous athletes that you've come across of, or some famous people that you've come across of through both those worlds between TSF and through AC Georgia, and even Mr. Mike, your dad.
right. I think I learned the most from, man, like some cool people that see. I try not to I try and partner with athletes that I work with. Like I try, one thing I've always tried not to do is like, you don't want to be just another fan. Like that's
Yeah.
something that I learned kind of when I was working for, like Georgia Athletics, or I had an internship once with the Falcons. Like, you're not going up on day one to Matt Ryan and asking him to sign the basketball or the football. You know what I mean? So like, and that's an extreme example, but so I don't really have like, some people that I really enjoyed being around was probably like the football team during the first championship run. Like
Oh yeah.
Nick Chubb was quiet, but he was a lot of fun to be around. Um, Jake Fromm was a lot of fun to be around, cool guy. A lot of guys from that defense. Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is a lot of fun. He's just like he is on TV. Like he's a really cool guy. Um, like Monty Rice, like, and it was fun, man. Like a lot of those guys, like they didn't want to do their interviews. They're like their interviews, like when I'm showing up, they're like they don't want to see me, because they know what time it is. But they were really cool. You're able to build some relationships and whatnot, and even if they don't know who I am, just to be a familiar face. And um, I just really enjoyed that, just kind of being around the team during that run. So.
Okay, so in Georgia athletics, are you more noticeable than Mr. Mike, or does Mr. Mike have the upper hand?
Oh, he's got the upper hand. He's got like 25 years of upper hand. So, but every time I go back though, I do get some people that want to say, hey, but yeah, no, he's a staple. I'll never be more famous than him. So,
Okay, so talk to me about what is a quote that you heard and it really stuck with you, and you tell other people now to this day.
a quote that I talk about, which you'll probably appreciate, given I know that the Hooker family loves some UGA women's basketball. But one thing that I was always instilled that comes from Coach Andy Landers was controlling the controllables. So your attitude and your effort, A and E. I like to instill that in my players because I think, especially as a young athlete, it's very easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself, right? You want to earn a college scholarship. You want to be the best player on the team. You know, you want to contribute. You want to be impactful. You want to be a star. You know, you want to do all these different things. And, you know, especially now in the coming age, like social media tells you what that looks like. It's highlight plays, scoring a lot of points, being a, you know, outgoing personality and whatnot. And so that does put a lot of pressure on young athletes. And so I try and tell my guys that if I'm coaching them, so it can take pressure off, because there's only two things that we can control in this life is your attitude and your effort. Everything else you can't control. Like even like, you know, we talk about with shooting, right? So like there is a perfect shot, you know, when you're shooting a basketball, you know, a 45-degree, you know, angle going into, you know, perfect depth, front rim, back rim, perfect depth, left or right. There's a perfect shot. But even within that perfect shot, there's like a 99.9% chance of it going in. Like there's still always that, if you shoot the ball perfectly, there's still a 0.01, like 0.01 chance that you're not going to make the shot. That's just life. You know what I mean? So there's only certain things that you can control. And I think it's always been very freeing to know that as long as I like control my outlook on things and the amount of time and effort I put into them, then you got to let the rest play out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Control the controllables. Okay. So now you're young, you're still developing in all areas of life. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
It's a good question. I have no idea. I will say that one of my goals is to be a high school head coach. I don't know where yet, whether it's Georgia or out of state, but one of my goals would be to be a high school head coach before the age of 30. So ideally, like I'm 24 now. So ideally by 29, 30, you know, I've landed someplace, settled down, you know, rooted with a family, and, you know, have found a program that I think is going to be very advantageous towards, you know, building a winning culture. So yeah, I would say that would be the goal. Ideally, who knows? Who knows what? I mean, 5 years is tough, man. That's a long way down the road. So
Yeah. Okay. So now, what legacy do you want to live? Do you want to leave on the game of basketball?
I would say legacy of like, I would say of accountability. I think is very important, like vocal accountability. So like one thing we did with our AC Georgia group after every game, a lot of times was we all were accountable for the things that we did well and the things we didn't do well. And that included me as a coach. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm accountable in that. I'm not excused from that accountability. I have to own up to my mistakes as well. And so like I think vocal accountability, a legacy of just being enjoyed, like visibly enjoying the game, man. Like there's just something about me that it's just like when you're not passionate, like I think everybody's passionate about the game, but people show it differently. Like I've always been the type of guy that's like, when we make a big play. Now it's different when you're the head coach, right? As the assistant coach, you can be focusing on different things, but you do want to be very positive. It's different when you're the head coach. I've learned that. But man, like I just want to be somebody known as being, you know, very positive, very supportive. I want to be known less for any sort of personal achievements and more for the achievements that the other people around me had, whether it's players going to college, whether it's guys graduating with their degree, starting families, getting jobs, you know, finding out new things to study, you know, like that. Like, I think if you get to the end of life and you've got, you know, hundreds of people that you impacted, like that means so much more than winning games or rings, trophies, all that type of stuff. Like it really, that stuff just doesn't matter. Right. Now you can collectively, by having that accountability and that championship culture, that's how you can acquire those things, but those aren't what you should be chasing. It should be the development of people, I feel like. So
okay. So now the last question is, why do you love your job? Why do you love doing what you do?
Man, I love my job. Like my job because it pays the bills. No, I'm just kidding. I'm getting some school out of it. No, I like my job because I get to work with like-minded people who value the game of basketball at the level that I do, if not more, that I can learn from, that I can be a student from. And just the opportunity, man, like it's a rare time to be able to, like, in this point of my life, to be able to work with such great talent, as far as coaches, as far as players, as far as support people. And so I would say, like, that is great. The opportunity to learn, to have the access to resources that TSF does, like, it's just different. It's really incredible. So that's kind of the big piece, being around. I would say it's like, man, it's like a Google for basketball. You know what I mean? Like, it's just people that love the game, know the game, and really want to pour that back into players. Like, we're not getting rich off this, I can tell you that. So it really is about player development and and getting kids better. So
Okay. So now that your time is winding down, tell me, who would you like to see in the hot seat?
Who would I like to see in the hot seat?
Yeah, who's like seeing the hot seat next after you?
Oh, okay, that's fun. Man, has your dad been on the show yet?
Nah, he hasn't.
Would that be too close to home? That would be fun.
All
I'd like to
right,
see.
I'll get him on here.
I'd like to see your dad on the show. You tell him that I said that.
Okay, I got you on that. I'll make sure he hears this. I'll make sure he comes on before he gets busy.
Right.
So I'll make sure he comes on one day, and we will discuss some sports. Even though we'll see how he goes.
That'll be a
We'll
fun
see
one. You'll
how
have
he
to send me
goes.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. So now, do you have any final words?
No, man, just appreciate what you're doing. This is really awesome. I'm glad that you're pursuing your passion. And thanks for keeping me in the loop about everything. And just, it's been awesome to see just your progression, like when you first started doing this stuff to now. It's very cool. So really cool opportunity, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, John.
Thank you. Well, I'm your host, Jonathan Hooker from the Sports Den Podcast, signing out with Coach Kevin. Well, I see you guys later on the next episode. Peace.